Hey there, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to WestSide Stories. How's everybody doing? Pretty good, nice. What happened? For crying out loud. That's all right. We don't need them. The important people are here. That's what's important. Yeah, forget them. I know, it's a school night, so there you go. Welcome to WestSide Stories, everybody. And by applause, how many people have never been to this storytelling show, WestSide Stories? By applause. 2 hands. Maybe you guys can clap your hands together.
High five each other really fast.
Yeah, exactly. High five as quickly as possible. Watched on television. There you go. Doesn't count.
Sorry.
It actually does. I'm totally kidding. Welcome for the first time. And by applause, and don't raise your hand for crying out loud. When I say by applause, I mean put those 2 hands together. How many people actually have been here before? We are coming up on our 3rd year anniversary, which will be in November, which is really kind of cool. Yeah, thank you. And that is only because of you. Otherwise, it'd be just me and my wife here and Karen and Bill. And that would not work out so well. I mean, although we drink all night, that'd be okay. You know, we'd be fine. So welcome. And those of you who don't know what goes on here, you have to tell a story. No, I'm kidding. People are like, wait a minute. Folks drop their name in the hat, and tonight I think there weren't any hats, there were baskets, but I think 16 people dropped their name in the hat. We choose 10 people, so yeah, no, that's how it works. It's unfortunate, but otherwise we could be here all night, and yeah, it would be for me. It's a school night, I already told you. I got homework, and so. We picked 10 storytellers. They tell 5-minute true stories live on this stage without notes. That's what they do. And it is fantastic, and we've had a great time doing it. My name is Dave Picorni. I am your host. I produce the show. I don't set up the chairs anymore, which is kind of cool. I own the sound system. My wife runs the door, and all of that. Let me tell you the actual rules here. At 5 minutes, I will time it over there. At 5 minutes, there will be a little bell, a little hotel bell will go off, and you have 59 seconds to wrap it up, meaning you stay within under 6 minutes, meaning you've told a 5-minute story. And the reason you do that is, at the end of the evening, those little green tickets that you received, somebody will be pulled out of there, and that random person will pick their favorite story for the evening, and that favorite storyteller will walk away with $50 cash money. There you go, I have it right here. Those are the rules. Get those out of the way right there. And if you go past 59 seconds, I will hit the bell a second time. Hopefully the person whose green ticket remembers that was a second bell, and then they are technically not eligible to win the $50 prize. So, there you go. Yeah, it keeps you within time because cash is on the line. There you go. Those of you who don't know what happened here, my wife and I went to New York. We went to the Moth. We went to a storytelling show. There were 300 people lined up down the street to see just everyday people come in and tell true stories about their own life. And we said, this is the coolest thing. Let's rip it off and bring it back to Petaluma. And that's exactly what we did 3 years ago. And here we are. They actually encourage that, just so you know, but they have it on their website, and they give you the way to do it and all of that. And so we decided to do it, along with the help of PCA, which is here filming tonight. Thank you, John. How about a nice round of applause for them? Got us started downtown, and when the Pelican Art Gallery closed up, Bill and Karen Reading, how about a huge round of applause for them? Came over and said, would you like to come down here? And we couldn't get here fast enough. This is a fantastic venue, and we're really happy to be here. Real quick about this particular venue, just so you know, they got a pretty sweet deal going on here at Sonoma Valley Portworks. They have a 10% deal. If you buy 6 or more bottles of after-dinner port, which is fantastic. I have 2 at home. I may get, some more. 10% off. If you buy 12, meaning a whole case of the after-dinner wine, you can get a 20% discount. So, yeah, Christmas is coming. These are great gifts. They're also great to, have people over and drink with. That's also good, too. So, drink dessert, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we do here. Tonight, our theme, and every month we do a theme for the show, and I try to choose a theme that is somewhat in line with that particular month. This month, pretty much school has just started, and so I chose Hit the Books, stories about school, and that's what we will hear this evening from our 10 storytellers. I thought about telling, personally, my daughter just went to San Diego State. We just took her down there, and I thought about talking about that, but I figured, who wants to see me weep up here? For like, I know, Ray wants to see it, a couple of people want to, that's not going to happen. But my oldest daughter is now away at San Diego State, which is really cool. The thing that I will talk about tonight is school, traffic school. Yeah. I taught traffic school for 13 years. I taught traffic school for 13 years. 975 traffic school classes. That's right, I counted. 975 traffic school classes. And it was, you think you don't want to go. Holy Christ. Has anybody ever been to traffic school before? Yeah. What happened? What were you in for? Let's put it that way.
Speeding.
Speeding? How fast?
I think I ran through a stop sign.
While speeding? Killed 3 pedestrians. And I was texting. So what the hell? Wasn't that big a deal. It was a long time ago. Good, you've gotten it out of your system then. Yeah, you pretty much ran through the entire vehicle code book. So nicely done. Just look at that thing. Do you remember when you got pulled over? Do you remember the first thing that the police officer said to you? No? Oh, was that when? Do you know why I pulled you over? Do you know why I pulled you over? That's one of the infamous questions right there. Anybody else know one? Yeah, tail light. Anybody else here? You know why I pulled you over? The other one is, how fast you're going. Do you know why I stopped you? General. Just keep it as general as possible. And you know why? So that you can admit to something, for God's sake. If your taillight is out and they come up to the window and say, do you know why I'm stopping you? Yeah, I ran through that stop sign and killed those 3 people. And there's a body in the trunk. Yeah, you're caught, Nice detective work, Kojak. Really impressive. I have the answer to those questions. After 975 traffic school classes, I learned that when a police officer comes up to the window and says, do you know why I'm stopping you? You answer the question with a question. Do you know why I'm stopping you? Why? Do you know what you did? What? Do you know how fast you're going? How fast? Have you been drinking? Have you? Probably not the right way to go there. But, you never admit to anything, for God's sake. I remember the first time I went to teach a traffic school class. It was out in, I think it was Fairfield at the Hampton Inn. Right there off Highway 80. I drive up and I go in and I talked to the person working the front desk. I walk up to the guy and I said, hey, I'm here to teach the traffic school class. And he looks at me really skeptically and he says, what's your name? Dave. And he says, yeah, that's not the name we have here. He says, what's your last name? I said, Picorni. He goes, yeah, that's not the one we have here. Is there like traffic school impersonators? I said, so what name do you have down there? He says, it says right here, instructor name will vary. Good God. I swear to God. And I looked at him at first and I thought, this has got to be one of those hidden camera shows, right? I started looking around like, where the hell is the camera? And then I looked at him and I could see that blank stare and I knew that he actually was serious. I guess they probably shouldn't have capitalized will and vary. I guess you can see how that would confuse you, but you know what that means is that the instructor will be different every week. The instructor will vary. He goes, oh. Pushes the key across the counter. I am not lying. I swear to God that is absolutely true. Oh my gosh. A lot of strange things happen to me in cars, but one of my favorite stories that I used to tell in traffic school is about a friend of mine who moved to San Francisco from Salt Lake City. And Salt Lake City, it's a big city, but it's not nearly as big and crazy traffic-wise as San Francisco is. And he and his wife moved to San Francisco to work on a play, and they lived on Bush Street in San Francisco, incredibly busy. And first, I don't know, month or so that he was here, they pulled over to park on the side of the road, and without thinking, because you can do this in Salt Lake City, he just flings open his car door, and bam, there goes the car door right there. And of course, his wife is mad, and he's upset about it, and they get a new car door and get it all fixed, and a couple months go by, and he's been living his entire life in Salt Lake City, and he pulls up on the side of the road and flips open his car door, and bam, second car door gets taken off, and she says, "That is it. You are not driving anymore. As long as we live in San Francisco, I will do the driving." About a month later, Bush Street is a one-way street, okay? She pulls over on the other side of the street. He opens up in the passenger door. Bam! Car goes. They actually moved back. So again, another absolutely true story. We're going to get this rolling right along right here, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you have filled out one of these little papers. They are anonymous. You don't have to have your name on them, which is fine, but you can also, I like to know whose personal stuff I'm reading. Okay, you do not have to put your name on there. But I do handwriting analysis. All right, these are our storytellers, 10 of which will be coming up here tonight, one of which will be going home with $50 cash money, and I will not tell the IRS about that.
You go, guys.
It's being filmed, but that's your problem. I'm going to pull one right out of the middle right here and see who our first storyteller for the evening is. That is going to be... Okay. A-L-T-A-A-A-S.
Al has.
Will vary.
Al has.
Al has a story to tell.
Al?
Al!
Al has a story to tell. Okay. Al has a last name too? Is that?
Has.
Seriously, that is your name. All right. Do you know my friend that works at the Hampton Inn?
Will?
In the meantime, while Al gets ready to tell his story, these little pieces of paper right here, it says, "What does the beginning of the school year mean to you?" First one, homework. And what does the beginning of the school year mean to you? The end of the baseball season. Ladies and gentlemen, since he sneaked up and he's standing right next to me, how about a big round of applause for Al Haas?
I can't see anyway. I'm going to take glasses off. All right, I'm going to tell you a story about my very first medical school exam, which varies significantly from your first medical school exam in that I was in Italy. What was I doing in Italy? I did not get into medical school in the States. I applied to 20 different schools, didn't get into a one. I started looking into foreign countries. Italy, best deal ever. In order to get into Italian medical school, must have high school diploma. That's it. Got that. Okay. Second thing, you cannot flunk out of an Italian medical school. You might flunk an exam, and by the way, there's only one exam per subject. So typically people have 2 or 3 exams a year. That's it. If you flunk an exam, you have to wait another year to take it. You can take up to 12 years to finish your degree. All right? You can do it as early as 5 years, but up to 12 years. And what's the cost? $75 a year.
Yeah.
$75 a year. If you took the whole amount of time, 12 years, still a medical education for under $1,000. And furthermore, the pasta is subsidized. It's subsidized. Student cafeteria, less than $1. You can actually have a wonderful meal. So I could not afford not to go to medical school. So off I went. There's a catch. There's a catch, always. Classes are in Italian. Exams are oral, public, and in Italian. I did not speak Italian. That's the catch. So I have to friggin' go to Italy 3 months early, study in the Università per Stranieri in Perugia, 3 months, 8 hours a day. Finally, after 3 months, I'm getting to the point where I'm okay. I go to class. I pick the Florence Università di Firenze for medical school, and I've got 2 courses that year. One is biochemistry, the other is microbiology. My first one is biochemistry. So I go to class. Wonderful thing about this class is the professor tells you ahead of time all the questions that he might ask. It could be any of a number 1 through 45. Each one has 3 parts. Granted, when you can answer all those questions, you know all of biochemistry, but still you know how to kind of organize the material. And so I start studying. And I'm having a wonderful time. Oh, by the way, I have to tell you, it's kind of like WestSide Stories, the way they do it. He will put 45 pieces of paper in a hat, each with a different number. You go up in front of everybody, you pull out the number, that's your question. That's your question. Okay, so I'm figuring, okay, I'm gonna study, I go at my own pace, I start studying, I'm enjoying it. This is the first time in my life I've actually enjoyed studying. No exams for months. I'm seeing the beauty of the Krebs cycle and all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun. But then it starts to be a couple of months before I'm supposed to give the exam. My friend Michele at the student cafeteria, he says, Albert, what did you study? I said, the knee. He said, Albert, what knee? I was still mixing up the word for the elbow and the knee. So I'm thinking, I better start studying for real now. Okay, so I start taking notes from my textbook. They take notes on the notes. And then notes on the notes on the notes. And then I'm walking in the Paesaggio Italiano, and I'm starting to recite all the biochemistry in Italian, and then I'm in the supermarket, and I'm in line, and I'm starting to recite all this stuff, and I'm starting to dream all this stuff. And pretty soon, what's happening to my sleep? I'm having trouble sleeping at night. I'm sleeping, before it was like 9 hours. I'd never slept 9 hours a night. Now suddenly it's like 6 hours, and it's just, I'm dreaming of all of this coenzyme A, and the ATP is going in and out of my ears. So it gets to a point where it's the night before the exam. I did not sleep at all. I didn't sleep at all. And I thought, hell, I'm screwed. If you flunk an exam, you have to wait a whole year to take it again. So I'm walking to the medical school. I'm thinking, no matter what happens, I'm going to have a nice story. I'm going to have a nice story. I haven't told it all this time. I've been waiting 40 years. And by golly, I've got a story. Okay, so the story goes like this. We have to go, there's a guy right in front of me who goes first. He picks out a number, 25. 25. He says, "Scusa, professore, I did not study." He said, "What do you mean you didn't study?" "I only studied the even numbers." Oh, I see how you do it. Why didn't anyone tell me I studied everything? No matter it was so hard. I pick out a number. Figure I'm screwed. Number 19. Well, I studied it. I start to talk, and all this garbage starts coming out. It's beautiful. It's like biochemical emesis. It keeps coming out. And he said, va bene, it's good. Finally, it's like, hey, perfetto. He gives me a 30. He says, go sit down. I got a perfect score. So what happens? Do I go to sleep? No, I'm so jacked up. I spend the next 12 hours partying around Florence, and that was the most important thing I could have learned in a medical education, how to stay up for 36 hours. This served me well. Thank you very much.
First timer here. Very nicely done, Al. swear to God, you made it with 4 seconds to spare. Nicely done. Nicely done there. Just like you've done this before. I'm impressed. Hal, you get to pick a number between 1 and 15, and I get to choose one of those.
Oh, I do.
Yes.
3.
3. Go 1, 2, 3. It's just for you. It's going to be Hal McKell right up front here. Hal will be our next storyteller. In the meantime, we do this every month, the first Wednesday of every single month right here. Next month, it'll be October 2nd will be the date that we have our show. And I chose the theme next month of surprise because I thought October surprise and everybody would get it because of, politics and putting that in. No, nobody got it. But I'm telling you guys exactly what it was. October surprise, but it can be about any surprise. Okay, so work on your story. You got a month to do it, and it is here. These little bookmarks that Bill here designed, which are beautiful and have the Portworx stuff on the back there, are available right outside there. And please grab one because it gives you the themes for the rest of the year, and then we'll put out new ones towards the end of the year for next year. So that'll be that. And then before we bring Hal up, let's see what we got here. What does the beginning of school mean to you? It's just one more year till the statute of limitations runs out. I'm guessing that's yours from that whole driving incident that you had there. All right. What does the beginning of school year mean to you? An irrational desire to go out and buy new clothes, file folders, and protractors. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a big round of applause for Hal McCown? Here he is.
I gave thought to what I was going to be talking about tonight, but it's a great story. I was born in Missouri, which is a little bit relevant as I continue to tell you the story. I went to public schools, but most of my family, my kin, all lived down in rural Missouri. So once a month, my dad would take us all down to see my grandparents and aunts and uncles and that kind of thing. I remember we'd stop in a little place called Lacoma, Missouri. You've never heard of it. Had a general store, and we would buy bologna and cheese and things like that for the weekend. And then we would head on down to see my grandparents. It was a 2-lane paved road that we would go on until we got to this road to where they lived, and then you would go on this gravel road. And if you've ever lived back in the Midwest, they did have roads that don't have paving on them. And so as you're driving down the road, you can always look in the back, especially if you're a kid, and you can look in the back and you can see this vortex of dust going around the back. You can't see anything back there, and you can hear these pebbles bouncing off. As I would go down the road, the thing I remember was there was a 90-degree turn. And we go down this turn, and so we go this way, and then we would go this way, and then we go that way, all within what seemed like a block. But right on the corner was a one-room schoolhouse. So we would go over to my grandparents. Now, the nice thing was, I told you again that I went to public schools, so I lived in the city. So one of the things was we used to get to go down on Thursday, which meant on Friday I didn't have to go to school. But when I got down there on Friday, when I got down there Thursday, then I would stay always over where my cousin Terry lived and my Aunt Grace. And the next day he would go to school. He went to that one-room schoolhouse, and there were all of about 18 kids. And it was from the 1st grade to the 8th grade, because they didn't have a high school, so nobody ever had a high school education. And so I also remember they had a 10-foot square building where they cooked breakfast and lunch. So there was a person that came in, I think it was a woman, and she always cooked meals for them. So why am I telling you that? Well, you see, what had happened is I was always excited about going to school because it was cool. I could go down to the school. Of course, part of it, I'm sure, was my Aunt Grace. By Friday, then she would let us go, my cousin and I, a half hour or about a half a day early, because we would go fish and stuff, because that was cool. And all the rest of the kids didn't quite understand, but she always said it's because I was a visitor. I visited every month. It was kind of good. So we would go out and had a great time. And I thought about what all that meant. And what I remember was my Aunt Grace, this wonderful woman who taught these 18 kids who were from 1st grade to 8th grade, so they were in groups. And she showed them the greatest respect, and she would show time and love, and she would teach each one of those kids. Sometimes she would group for timing, but always she made it a point to spend time with each one. And I was taken by that, because I think today about everything that goes on. And here's a woman, and don't forget, that wasn't her only job. She'd have to go back to the farm and do all of the chores and all of the things that were required and put up with her nephew. And she would always make me a special meal when I would go down there. But she always allowed me to come. But I couldn't just go and goof off in this school. I had to actually participate. So that means I had to do my geography and stuff like that. That was part of the deal. But we still got to leave early. And so the thing I always remember most of all was my Aunt Grace. And what a great woman. And what a neat person. And what great love and respect that she had. And I just think what a fantastic educator. And that was my great time. And that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Hal McCown. All right, Hal, you get to pick a number between 1 and 14 for our third storyteller of the evening.
Number 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You challenged me. Double digits.
Recount.
There it is. That's going to be Leslie Scatchard. You guys had this worked out, didn't you? That was impressive. Nicely done right there. Nicely done. You slipped him the 20, didn't you? Damn it! Believe that. What does the beginning of the school year mean to you? My school uniform would be ironed and book bag ready at the door 1 week ahead of time. I was considered odd. It says. A lot of sweat, then glory. I was a football player. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a huge round of applause for Leslie Scatchard?
Well, I was thinking about this and thinking about my classes, junior high and high school, and I realized my favorite class had been Spanish. And I think it was because I had such good teachers. Every single one of them was great. My first year Spanish teacher's name was Mitzi Mayan. And I don't think that was her real name, but we'll talk a little bit later about why she might have changed it. But she had such a way with 8th graders. I mean, think about teaching 8th graders how to speak Spanish. Is that a thankless job or what? But she would very casually listen to all of the girls' conversations and then pair us up with the boys we had crushes on to do the dialogues, which made them so much more fun. Then, vocabulary, she was a master. The first week of school we went in, she gave us a list of vocabulary words that we had to learn by Friday. We are 13-year-olds, not gonna happen. So we roll in on Friday, and instead of giving us a quiz, she gets up in front of the class and she starts telling us a story in Spanish using the vocabulary words. And it went something like this. She was on a boat in the Sea of Cortez with 2 handsome men and a tiny little bikini. She dove off of the boat into the sea and her bikini top fell off and floated away in the tide. And there she was, topless and oh so embarrassed with her 2 handsome men. 8th graders? Are you kidding? That's like the best story we've ever heard from a teacher. Those of us who knew the vocab, that is. The other ones were like this. Wait, what'd she say? What fell off? What? So the next week, everyone knew their vocab. And she told titillating stories every week. It was brilliant. So it was a fairly well-known fact that Mitzi Mayan had been a Playboy centerfold before she started teaching. And it also so happened that Eric Figge the boy in my class, his father was a Playboy photographer. So Eric, being the clever boy he was, went home and figured out which issue Mitzi Mayan appeared in, and then brought the magazine to school and opened it up and propped it up in third period Spanish on the chalk tray. And there we all were in class waiting for Mitzi Mayan to show up. Okay, the air in that room is like electric, okay? We can't believe it. We have never been a party to such a caper in our young lives, and God. So finally, in bops Mitzi Mayan. She always had on these cute little dresses, and she had this little wiggly walk and these clacky shoes. So she comes clicking, clacking into the classroom, and we are perched on the edge of complete apoplexy, waiting for her to, what's she gonna do, right? So she walks in, and she sees the magazine, and she goes, huh, not bad, eh? Picks it up, closes it up, sticks it in her desk drawer, and goes right on with the lesson. She doesn't miss a beat. She diffused the situation perfectly. And we all thought she was the coolest teacher on the planet. And we would do anything for her for the rest of the year. Oh my gosh. So later when I became a teacher myself, and I would be, come up occasionally against a difficult situation, I would always think, not Jesus. I would think, what would Mitzi Mayan do? Thank you.
Let's discuss it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I don't even know Mitzi, and she's my favorite teacher, too. For God's sake. Our fourth storyteller will be chosen by Leslie, and it can't be Hal, so there. Between 1 and 13, please.
5.
1. That's Uno, by the way. And there it is. See who that might be. That is Ray Engen right there. Ray, you are my next storyteller for the evening, right there. And a couple things, little housekeeping things. If you have not joined our Facebook page and you do the Facebook thing, which a lot of people don't, and that's totally fine too. You don't have to get Facebook just to get on the WestSide Stories Facebook page, but it's pretty cool. And you know what? That's the only way I advertise. That's how I keep this show $5. I advertise on Facebook. I do have a website as well, which is www.westsidestoriespetaluma.com. And I send out an e-blast once a month. In fact, I sent it out at like 1 in the morning last night, those of you that got it. So I'm not going to bombard you with stuff all month long. If you put your name on the email list out there, I promise you, maybe 2 emails in a month. That's it. And I will not sell your name and email address to other people. Unless it's a really good price. I'm honest, I gotta put a kid through college. So. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our stage Mr. Ray Engen. Here he is.
Do you remember the advice your parents gave to you when you went to a new school? The day I walked into junior high school, my dad gave me 2 pieces of advice. He said, in order to have a really good plan A, you better have a better plan B. And he also said, anything in life, any experience, you ought to be able to define in 2 words. How would you define your junior high experience in 2 words? Mine was easy. Lisa Westerhoff. Oh, she was an angel with golden hair and a smile that could stop my heart. She was Stevie Nicks before I even knew who Stevie Nicks was. Oh, and not the petty, puffy Stevie Nicks. No, and get ready to groan. She was the Stevie Nicks that made dreams come true. Thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only play when they're playing. I remember sitting on the lawn at Reedland Woods Junior High, filling out 3x5 cards that said Trident on them. Because we were trying to win a concert from KFRC that had Dr. Donald D. Rose coming to our school to bring Bo Donaldson and the Haywoods to our school. You know who they are, don't you? One hit. Billy, don't be a hero, don't be a fool with your life. Billy, don't be a hero, come back and make me your wife. And as they started to go, she said, Billy, keep your head low. Billy, don't be a hero, come back to me. Yeah! I was filling out 3x5 cards on the lawn because Lisa Westerhoff was sitting 3.5 feet away from me, filling out 3x5 cards. And I know there's a fine line between stalking and just being there. But I never crossed it. Because I never spoke to her. Because she was so cute and so popular. And I had a crush on her. And my mom one time said, Ray, patience is a virtue. So I waited. And I waited. And I became virtuous. And virtuouser. Because I know one day she'd come up to me and say hello and we'd begin our life together. But then after junior high, she disappeared. Gone. Dream bye-bye. And I was disappointed. But I learned that day that sometimes it took more than school to learn a lesson. And I got over it. Now fast forward 40 years. 10 days ago, I was in Cincinnati. I competed for the World Championship of Public Speaking. Out of 292,000 people that could have been in this contest, I finished in the top 50. Yeah, but I was disappointed. It bothered me. But I got over it. Because my story is about a teacher that taught me to come alive, face fear, and avoid disappointments. And every time I gave that story, someone came up to me and said, you know, Ray, I'm a teacher. And you've inspired me to work harder. Because I hope one of my kids will grow up and be like you and pass the message that I'm giving on to them to others. And I was like, wow. And earlier today, one of the past world champions wrote a blog that said, his message is powerful. He's influencing the influencers. It's like, I won. I didn't need the trophy. I needed to get the message out. And it was amazing. And I remember the day my mom told me that, you know, good things happen to good people. And the first time I heard that, I used to hang next to all the good people I could find. So I'd get the extra good stuff that fell off their wagon. And you know what? It works. 10 days ago, I stood next to the new world champion of public speaking as 3,000 people started to come to him and say hello and thank you. And this woman came up to me, and she had her arms open wide, wings akimbo in full hug mode. She says, oh my God, it's you, Ray Engen. I heard your speech. You were fantastic. And she hugged me. And then she stepped back and she said, oh, you probably don't recognize me. I'm Lisa Westerhoff. 40 years later, Plan A was coming true. And she said, you know what? In my life, back in junior high school, I couldn't come up and talk to you because I had a crush on you and you were so cute and so popular. So I had to hug her again. Just a little bit longer for the inner 13-year-old that was still there inside me. And then she broke away and she whispered the magic word in my ear. You have to meet my husband, Bob. And then I realized that the lesson I learned in junior high school wasn't that patience is a virtue, but the B in Plan B stand for Bob.
ladies and gentlemen. I've known Ray for a long time, and I gotta tell you folks, a lot of teachers really are making a mistake if they want their kids to grow up like you. So not right. Ray, pick a number between 1 and 12.
How about 1? Make it easy for you, Dave.
Oh, thank God. It's California public school, so. That's a prime number, by the way, Brett. It's going to be Jim Dombrowski. Am I saying it right, Jim? Yes. All right. Jim is going to be our next storyteller, and he'll be right up here after I read a couple of these lovely little things right here. What does the beginning of school year mean to you? New hopes and dreams. Thwarted would be what I would write after that. But that person, actually did well. And what does the beginning of the school year mean to you? Big tuition bills. Thank you. I wonder if that's Juliet's writing. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Jim Dombrowski.
There's been some great discussions here. I don't know if I come anywhere close to what has already transpired, but I'm going to give it a try. You're looking at a wise ass. I grew up as a wise ass. I grew up on Hunters Point, then we migrated to South San Francisco, the industrial city, where I matriculated from high school. I was a wise ass all the way through elementary school, through junior high, and in high school. And just because I happened to do well on an aptitude test along the way, somehow I got a full ride scholarship to Willamette University in Salem, Oregon. All expenses covered, everything. I didn't have to play sports, and I had to sign a covenant that I wouldn't tell anybody about the foundation that gave me the scholarship, which you'll begin to realize when I tell you the rest of the story. So I decide to try out for the football team. I get there 2 weeks early before the start of the school year, and lo and behold, I make first string punter, first string running kickoffs and punts back, and second string quarterback behind an All-American quarterback who ultimately played professional ball in Canada. So this university, if anyone is unaware of it, is the oldest university west of the Mississippi, founded by Jason, Jason, I think it's, anyway, he was founded by a Methodist missionary, and in 1842. And it's like, as I said at the time, this is like stepping into a Ronald Reagan movie, because the school is just magnificent, and the people on the team that were in my class, the freshman class, every one of those team members had 4 points out of high school, with the exception of maybe 3 people, including me. And so I felt very honored to be on this team. And the first game was against Lewis and Clark College, and it was a night game, and I suited up, and I just couldn't wait. I was excited, and there was a packed stadium, and it was just a wonderful moment in time. And we won the toss. I was on the kickoff receiving team. I run onto the field. And just before the kickoff, the coach pulls me out. He says, so-and-so, go in for Dombrowski. And I come running off, figuring, well, that's the way it goes. We have the ball for 3 downs. It's time to punt. I run on the field to punt. I'm clearly the best punter on the team by 10 yards. And he pulls me out again. And now I'm starting, the paranoia is starting to flick in here. Maybe my little Ronald Reagan movie dream is not coming true here. The quarterback then gets hurt just before halftime. And now I think, this is the moment. I start to run on the field again. the coach says, Dombrowski out, so-and-so go in, and I come now off the field and wait till halftime. The coach is walking off the field. He is an ex-Marine who fought in Okinawa. He has no sympathy for anything. He absolutely was just not into interpersonal relationships on the team. And certainly, in his most casual way, when I asked him what happened, he simply turned around and said, "Oh, Jim, I forgot to tell you, you're ineligible for the year because your grades didn't meet the standards to play football for this freshman year." And that's the way he broke the news to me. Of course, it didn't stop there. The next day, because of all the notoriety that I had received with these accolades that I had out of high school and so forth, the front page news in the Oregonian newspaper was freshman deemed ineligible, first time in the history of Willamette University. 1842, deemed ineligible, right? And so then I had to motivate myself to go to those classes and sit next to students that looked at me like I was a complete idiot, wondering how in the hell did I get into this school when they work so hard, and it's a very good academic school. And here I am schlepping in, attending this beautiful university. And so that's when I began to hit the books. And I started spending all my time in the basement of the library. And I cleaned up my whole routine, my academic routine. But that experience has always lived with me as the most humiliating, embarrassing, humbling experience that I have ever had. And there's nothing worse, from my perspective, than people who look at you like you're stupid. And that's the way they treated me. Anyway, I ultimately did very well academically and went on to get various other degrees. But that moment in time is always a reminder. And I tried to explain that to my kids, and it was, so? Thank you.
Dombrowski, ladies and gentlemen, members of the gym. Jim, I want a number between, I think it's 11 now, I don't know.
11.
Okay, that'll be this one right here. That's easy. Boom, number 11 is Bradford Rex, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. He'll be our next storyteller. All right, before we bring Bradford up, let's look at a couple of these. Once again, I just want to remind you guys, this particular place right here, the port is outstanding. And if you have not tried it before, you should come down during the week between 1 and 5 is when you have tastings? 12 and 5. All right, well, if you come at 1, they'll already be drunk. So, but you know what? Show up at 12. You can get started early. And then if you get 6 bottles, you are going to get a 10% discount. And if you get a whole case, 12, you're going to get a 20% discount. So it's an incredible deal. And I'll invite you to my house to bring some over. Before I bring Bradford up, we go here. What does the beginning of the school year mean to you? New notebooks. To me, it reminded me of peachy folders. And all the various naughty drawings that you would do on the peachy folders. There you go. What does the beginning of the school year mean to you? Jessica Miller still doesn't love me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bradford Rex.
Nice to be here, but I wouldn't be if I knew that for $75 a year I could learn to speak with my hands. Now, why didn't you call me? For heaven's sakes. So I didn't like school, and school didn't like me. But I had some good friends. One of them, Ricky Bodge, who found out early, like 3rd grade, that by pouring milk into the stale chocolate pudding and picking up the skin and holding it against his lips, he could make Peter Paravati throw up. And then Mark Turnetta would throw up, and then I would be next, and I would go down the line, and a bunch of us would be sent home. So I skipped a lot of days of school. It was wonderful, thanks to Ricky Bodge and his figuring out peristaltic chain reaction, how things would work out. And Friday, third period shop class in 7th grade, I was standing next to Wade Fulmer, and Wade Fulmer, he wasn't my best friend, but he was a hero of sorts because I was 7th trumpet and Wade was 8th trumpet. So I wasn't the worst. And Wade had older brothers. Wade had older brothers that had gotten into his father's Playboy stash, and Wade had figured out how to cut these Playboys up into little pictures, and he would sell them to people in the band. This picture is 10 cents, and this picture is 25 cents and 45 cents, and it was wonderful, and that's how we entertained ourselves, being terrible trumpet players. The other thing was Jennifer Lett, the girl in front of us that played the glockenspiel. Poor Janet never knew what was going on behind her in band. But then we got out of band practice and we went to shop class, and we had a wonderful shop teacher. He was a wonderful, wonderful, poor Mr. Brown. He had I'm sure this is not how he saw the arc of his career going, but we were making birdhouses, and there we were all at the table, and there was Ricky Bodge and Mark Turnetta and Peter Paravati and David Thacker and Jimmy Delacardo and Michael Hales and myself and Wade Fulmer. And Wade was pounding with a claw hammer, and I probably don't need to do that. You know how a hammer works. But he was hitting it, and then he was probably trying to make a deal selling us things that he had stolen out of his father's Playboy magazines, and he missed the nail, and he hit the wood, and the claw hammer came up, and it caught him in the back of the head, but he pulled down, and no, this is tragic, I know, that's the proper sound to make, and an inch and a half wide strip of skin got pulled down his scalp, and he flopped down in front of him. Ricky Bodge taps Peter Paravati and says, "Look." Peter Paravati throws up. Mark Turnetta looks over and throws up. I look up. I know better than to look at Wade Fulmer, who has now put the flat back on his head. But I see Mark Turnetta throw up, so I spurge, and Mr. Brown, our wonderful shop teacher, comes running over. What's going on here? And Wade Fulmer flips his head forward, and the skin comes down. Mr. Brown goes weak in the knees and does a reverse arabesque and flips his head on the table, shooting really horrible bird boxes all across the shop room. Mr. Brown is down. Wade Fulmer flips his scalp back up, runs down the hallway by the nurse's room, and shouts, "Mr. Brown has fainted and has hurt his head." Wade continues down the hallway, past the principal's office, and says, "I don't have a pass, but we're only 2 blocks, our school is 2 blocks from Montgomery County Hospital." Wade got 32 stitches. Peter Paravati, Mark Turnetta, myself, David Thacker, Jimmy and Delacardo, the 2 of them who have never thrown up in school, we all got sent home. Wade came back. Mr. Brown is in the nurse's office with a cold compress on his head. On Monday at band practice, while Wade is handing out and charging us full price for pictures of naked ladies, and I asked him, Why did you go back to school? He said, it's Friday, it's pizza day.
Congrats, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, it's pizza day, for God's sake. Bradford, pick a prime number between 1 and 10, please.
7.
7. Nicely done. 1, 2, 3. Because he only picks prime numbers, those of you who've never been here before. 4, 5, 6, 7. There it is. All right, who we got next? That is going to be Craig Logan. Over here is going to be Craig Logan. Craig apparently brought his family with him this evening, which is really great. That they're here to support, which is nice. Before we bring Craig up, once again, October 2nd is our next show. Theme is what? Surprise! There you go, surprise. I'm going to say fast. November is our anniversary show. And the anniversary show, I've given quite a bit of liberty. The theme is in. That means indecision, inconclusive,
In honor of my birthday.
in honor of your birthday, in jail, in anything. So I've tried to make it as broad as possible so we get a variety of stories about in, and that's going to be in November. That's our anniversary show, and I think that is going to be a big party, so come on down for that. What does the beginning of school mean to you? More traffic. Yes. What's the beginning of school mean to you? That the little angels are back. Oh, and the staff too. The working vacation of summer is over. Now I'm thinking a teacher. That was. All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our stage Mr. Craig Logan. There he is.
You know, I'm 61 years old, and topics like this and themes like this really bring home to me the fact that I don't know the difference between an epiphany and emotional regression. And I was thinking, God, I really realized there's a through line to my life, and this theme really brings it out. I said, this isn't realizing it. I'm regressing here. But having said that, I'm going to start my story out in 4th grade at John Muir Elementary School. And it was the last Friday just before Easter vacation in the spring break. We took 1 week off. And I'm sure Dave remembers Captain Satellite.
Oh, yeah.
Captain Satellite, I went on Captain Satellite with my Cub Scout uniform on. And I didn't really get the fact that I was going to be ridiculed the following Monday. And the whole neighborhood saw the show. And I started to get the idea in the week off that there was kids kind of pressing their head up against the window, and they saw me riding my bike around the neighborhood, and they kind of started to point at me, and I had a feeling I was getting really ridiculed. When I went back to school on Monday, and I kind of got ready for it, and I had my brother with me, and I kind of lagged behind the kids that we usually walk with, because I thought I didn't even know how to pronounce Schadenfreude yet, but I felt it coming. And we got to John, and there was terraced land that the school was built on. And like I said, I thought there was going to be some ridicule, but there was the field, and then kind of an embankment going up the blacktop, and it looked like a scene from Lawrence of Arabia. There was 400 kids. One of them went, "He's here!" They all raced. They flooded down the embankment. Flooded the field and just absolutely pounded on us for a couple of minutes, and then the bell rang, and it's just, and I thought this is where the emotional regression comes in. I mean, that day and several other days during the school years that I went through, like that. I mean, I grew up to be a big, strong, tough kid, and I could handle myself, but I was never mean. But and I never knew how to react to that. And I lost something that day, and I couldn't really figure out what. So, some people were talking about they graduated magna cum laude and summa cum laude. I graduated from high school magna cum somehow. And so I didn't have an easy time in school at all. By the way, I ran into Jessica Miller in the post office in Amsterdam 2 years after that. So I drift through college from Marin. I didn't do very well. I was in and out. Had some trouble with this, had some trouble with that, I was trouble with that. By the time 26 years old comes around, I start to quit all that. Start to get my life together. 27 years later, it's time to go back to college. I didn't even know why. What's going to happen to me when I go back? Am I going to find out that I'm really a lousy student? I don't want to find that out. So I go back to college, and all of a sudden, just all this cynicism just lifted. All this difficulty that I was having emotionally with school lifted. And I thought, this is good. I like this. I took a class called Oral Interpretation of Literature, which is learning how to read stories in front of people and make them hang on every word. I took it for 2 semesters. There was a guy in that class who was an improv group at the drama department. His name was Peter Butler. And he was in an improv group called Cannibals at High Tea. I took improv for 5 semesters and just absolutely thrived on it. And all of a sudden I started to get the idea that I love this. I'm back in school. Something has happened to me. I didn't know what. I thought, oh, I'm back in the learning curve. I'm rejoining the human race, education, curiosity, all those positive things. But still, that wasn't the complete answer. I realized when I got this award from the College Marin Drama Department for, I can't really see it. Could you read that?
Excellence in Service Award. Would you like me to read the whole
Yeah.
thing? It is Craig Logan is a recipient of the 2000-2001 Drama Department Service Award in deep appreciation of Craig's unfailing support and dedication to all things dramatic at the College of Marin, and in recognition of his steadfast desire and diligent effort in utilizing College of Marin classes to transform himself.
I didn't realize when I was looking back and trying to formulate the story for that, I didn't realize what I went back to school for. I went back to school to get my innocence, and I got it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very nicely scaffolded. Very nicely done. Craig, how about a number between, we only have 9 in here left, but we only have 3 slots left, so pick
6.
3 at a time is what I was going to say. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6. There you are. That is Katie Watts. So she is right there. Oh, thank goodness, for God's sake. Katie will be up next. Once again, I'd like to remind you guys, if you do Facebook, go on, like the page, the Facebook page. It doesn't cost you anything, and I send out all kinds of, in fact, I post almost every single day, sometimes twice a day. There's also a WestSide Stories group that you can join. I guess you have to ask to join, but you know what? You're all welcome. I don't discriminate at all. So go ahead and do that, and those things right there will keep you posted on what the next themes are. And today I posted some like a video clip, and the other day was a song and all kinds of stuff. So not that I sang any of it, just so you know. It was I think was it the Jackson 5, the ABC? Yeah, it was something about school, it was something about the theme. So there you go. All right, what does the beginning of school year mean to you? That it's time for vacation. Right. Not sure how that works, but okay. Somebody who doesn't have kids, obviously. What does the beginning of the school year mean to you? The smell of the shoe store where once a year I was allowed to pick out shoes. That's awesome. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Katie Watts. Here she is.
September 1992. My son Ricky is in 6th grade at Montessori. His twin brothers, David and Christopher, are in 2nd. As they have gone on to 2nd, they are now eligible for that culinary delight, school hot lunch. That is, Christopher is. David believes that every meal should be the same. His breakfast is dry Cheerios and milk. His dinner is steamed broccoli and steak or chicken. His lunch is a peanut butter and peanut butter sandwich, sliced carrots, and a sliced apple. Christopher, however, goes through the menu like it is 5-star Michelin. He takes out a red crayon. He circles pizza. Thank you, Brad. He circles hot dogs. He circles macaroni and cheese. And of course, he circles what we call in our family hambangers. 3 weeks later, it is back to school night or afternoon, as the case may be. Richard has left for school. I hand David his lunch, a brown paper sack. Where's mine? Christopher says. It's hambanger day. I said, I hate hambangers, he says. I say, we had hambangers last Sunday. You didn't hate them then. Those were your hambangers. I hate hambangers. I look at the school menu. He's had hambangers at school twice before. I point this out. He screams, I hate hambangers. I won't eat them. They're terrible. I say, it's a little late. I don't have time to fix your lunch. You're going to have to eat hambangers. No, he says, and he throws himself on the floor and starts kicking. I hate hambangers. If I eat them, they are poison and I will die. I say, I don't have time. It is time to go to school now. And his brother opens the door, and Christopher tries to run the other direction, and I grab him, and I take him out the front door, and I set him down, and he tries to run back in, and I pick him up, and I carry him down the front walk, David trotting along with his little brown paper bag. And Christopher is kicking and screaming, but now he is screaming, put me down, I can walk! So I put him down, and he starts to run back into the house. I grab his arm, and step by step, we begin the long, one-block walk to La Tercera. Christopher is screaming and tugging and yelling. I am pulling and trying to pretend that it is a normal day. I do not normally walk them to school. It is not a normal day. Other parents and children are looking at us very strangely, but we finally get there. His teacher, Mrs. Horn, is standing at the door to the room, and she looks at Christopher, kicking, screaming, and yowling, and she says, why, Christopher, what is the matter? My mother is forcing me to eat hambangers. Christopher sobs. His head is down. Mrs. Horn's lips twitch. She says, it's almost time for class. Why don't you come in? He looks at me, and he says, I am not going to eat hambangers. I am going to starve today. That's fine, I say. I'll see you after school. And I really resist the urge to add, you little stinker. 2:30 rolls around. I go back to school. For back to school afternoon. Richard is waiting for me. He is thrilled. He is in 6th grade. He has reached the pinnacle, as I said before. Mr. O, Mr. B, and Mr. T are the school team teachers. They lead these 90-plus 6th graders, and they are revered by students and parents alike. But I say to Richard, I have to talk to your brother's teachers first. So I go to David's teacher first, Mrs. Spencer, and she says, David is a fine boy. He's highly intelligent and original, but he does seem to prefer drawing and daydreaming to actually working. Thank you, I say, and I go on to Mrs. Horn, and I stand there in the doorway, and she looks up and she starts to laugh, and I groan, and she says, thank you for a wonderful day, and I say, what happened? And she says, well, he was his usual charming, bright, well-behaved self until it came time for lunch. Then off he went to the cafeteria and he went back for seconds. So at this point, Richard bursts in and he says, Mom, they're waiting. Mrs. Horn says, thanks, I'll see you later. Richard grabs me by the arm. He drags me running across campus, and there, standing in the doorway of the 6th grade, is a tall man. He has a white crew cut, blue eyes, and a plaid shirt. He looks at me, and Richard says, Mr. O, this is my mom. And Mr. O looks down at me, and then he grins, and he says, oh, I know you. You're the lady who drags her son to school.
And didn't you tell me that your son begged you not to tell that story tonight?
He did.
That is
If
awesome.
anybody paid any attention, his older brother Ricky is the one who did the mural on the Phoenix.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, but he begged her not to tell the story, and
Not
yet.
here tonight, ladies.
Not only did she tell the story, it was filmed, and it will be on PCA very, very shortly for the entire town of Petaluma to see, which is awesome. Okay, how about a number between 1 and 8 is where we are.
Okay, let's do 2.
1, 2. That's it right there. We are going to go with Cynthia. Oh crap is not the last name, but close enough. How do I say it, Cynthia? Dalkey. Cynthia Dalkey will be our next storyteller. Apparently, reluctantly, she put her name on the thing. We're looking forward to it. This is a gentle crowd. Don't worry. There's nobody even in the front row, for God's sake. Hang on one sec. I gotta read a couple of these while you catch your breath. Here we go. What does the beginning of the school year mean to you? A fresh start, new friends, 9 months of drudgery. Nice. What does the beginning of the school year mean to you? Fear and loathing. By mid-semester, the loathing was gone. And the fear sometimes somewhat less. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Cynthia. Say it again, Cynthia. Cynthia Dalkey, ladies and gentlemen, here she is.
Well, I'm an out-of-towner, but somebody told me about this and I just had to show up. I came from a free-range children generation where we left the house in the morning every day and came back at dinner time sometimes, most of the time. And we're pretty much left to ourselves, and I kind of grew up as an independent person that way, and it suited me fine. I think right now at this point in time in our society we would call that parental neglect. But it kind of worked for me. I was, when you mentioned school as a subject, was suddenly popped up this strange thing I had thought about for so many years. Was one day early in the school year of September when I was in kindergarten, and it was time to go to school, and my parents worked all night, and my older brother and sisters weren't up, and I got myself up because this was a whole new deal, you know, going to school and everything else, and put on my dress with the little Peter Pan collar and my undies and my Mary Janes and whatnot, and I went bouncing down the back stairs and was going to get breakfast for myself. And we lived at the time in about 100-year-old Victorian. It had a lot of stairways and strange rooms, and one of them was the kitchen, which was big, and then off of it was this huge pantry. It was like a high ceiling thing with all kinds of shelves and cupboards and drawers and everything else. And you know, I wanted to get to the Cheerios, and that meant that I had to pull out this big drawer, and I crawled up and I got up to this work table section, and I got up to the Cheerios, and I saw the juice up there, and I crawled up and I got the juice, and I labored my way down and got them down, and I got to the table, and I poured myself a big bowl of Cheerios, and I got the milk out of the Kelvinator and put it in there, and a big tumbler of juice and everything else, and I had myself breakfast. So I was pretty proud of myself. So I took all that back, and I was going to go off to school. And I was walking down Milwaukee Avenue toward the grade school, and at that time we didn't have buses or anything. All the schools of the time, they were on the same block, you know, the junior high, the elementary school, the high school. So I'm walking down, and it was a beautiful day, early September. I'm 5 years old, the birds were twittering. You know, it was just a great day. I start skipping, and then I start humming, and then I'm singing away, and I finally get up to the point where I'm behind the high school. And there's this huge, big, green, old double doors, I guess, where they set some things in, and it's kind of scared me, you know. They were ominous, you know, so I kind of skipped real fast past those. Then there was this kind of place where there was no grass, you know, and there was this iron kind of railing by it, and I remember having gone by there before. That's where the sinkhole was. And I was very scared about the sinkhole, and I grabbed on to the railing in the sinkhole. I almost fell into the sinkhole. I just couldn't stop being fixated by the sinkhole. Finally, I released myself, and I'm really having sort of an event, you know. But I was close to the intersection, so I kind of raced to the intersection, and I got across the intersection into the big brick building of stinking Lincoln Elementary School. And I got to the big playroom, which was our kindergarten, and I saw Mrs. Schoonmacher there, and she was kind of this big motherly woman. And I ran up to her, and I grabbed her legs, and I think, as I recall, I was laughing maniacally because I was so relieved about the sinkhole, so I thought. And the next thing I knew, it was kind of fuzzy for a little while, but the next thing I realized is I'm being perp walked up to where the principal's office is by Mrs. Schoonmacher. And I get up there, and I didn't know what a principal was, but we open this big door, and there's this huge man behind this big desk who looks like the Wizard of Oz. And I look further in the room, and in the chair in front of this big desk was my mother. And you know, they had words. I didn't understand what they were saying, really. The next thing I know, I'm being frog marched out of there, and I'm going down Milwaukee Avenue. Fortunately, on the other side of the street, because I was still freaked out about the sinkhole. And, you know, I get home, and I'm relegated to my room, and you know, at some point in time, I got some toast, I think, in a glass of milk, and I had library books, and I wasn't allowed to go out and play and whatnot, and I never really knew what happened, except a couple of years later, I was overhearing my parents and my aunts and uncles at Christmas time, who were drinking the big people punch, talking about the time that Cynthia went to school drunk. Because that tumbler of juice I had that was from the top shelf was Manischewitz.
Ladies and gentlemen. Oddly enough, in this Goy's house, we've never had the Manischewitz. I didn't have that problem. Cynthia, how about a number between 1 and what do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our 10th storyteller, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Between 1 and 7, if you would, Cynthia. Pick the right one. 5.
It's 2 from the back.
That's 1. Thank you. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. There it is. That is Carol Horn? Is that right? Just Carol right here? Okay. All right, Carol, hang on just 1 second there, and I will read a couple of these before we bring you up here. What does the beginning of the school year mean to you? Next is Labor Day, then Halloween. Oh my God, Christmas. I'm sure the most of us remember, when did the school used to start after Labor Day, for God's sake? It used to start like the middle of September. These kids today. What does the beginning of the school year mean to you? It means it is a good time to go on vacation since all the kids are in school. Now the money. I don't know what that part meant, but I certainly got the other part. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a huge round of applause for Carol Horn. Here we go.
Hi. I was the one who wrote about the fear and the loathing. I don't have any loathing, but I sure feel a lot of fear. Once upon a time, a long time ago, and believe me, it's long, 74 years ago, I was on my way to kindergarten, shuffling along in my Buster Brown shoes, way too big. Mom always thought bigger is better, they'll last longer. You know, that never seemed to work out. By the time those shoes fit, I was using rubber bands to keep the soles from flapping. Later than that, stuffing pieces of cardboard in where there were holes, and then the rubber bands again. On that first day, my sister said to me, 4 years older than I, "Keep back, keep way back. Mom said to take you, keep back. Don't you dare say a word to me. If you speak to my friends, you know what's going to happen." And I knew how hard she hit. And one time, this is true, one time she tried to smother me with a pillow, but Mom saved me. Oh, what a dramatic life. When we got there, I found my own way to the kindergarten class by following the kids that seemed to be about my size. I passed by rooms with desks for the bigger kids, and then finally, there was the kindergarten with a big circle of chairs. I walked in and I sat down. Oh, I forgot to tell you, not only were my shoes too big, but my checkered dress was too big too. The pockets hung down below my knees. I thought I was looking just like those circus midgets that I saw during the summer. My dad had waked my brother and I. My brother was 7. I was still 5. I'd be 5 forever. He took us at 5 in the morning. It was dark, to watch them raise the tent for the circus. We didn't have the money to go, so he took us for the show of the tent going up. And I saw real elephants, just like Dumbo, for the first time. And those midgets, those lady midgets, in their too big dresses, practicing their somersaults in the dust and the dirt. So I got into that kindergarten class and I sat down next to a pretty little girl with glasses. She wore on a blue dress that looked just her size. She had cute little pigtails in her yellow hair with blue ribbons that matched the dress. And she had a pair of black Mary Janes that I knew fit her perfectly. She whispered to me, "My name is Nancy. Nancy Jean Cooper." I whispered back, "I'm Carol Ansell." We became friends. We were friends for a very long, long time. Elementary school wasn't too easy. My friends who went to Catholic school, well, you know, they went to private school, but my school sounded like their private school too, because boys on one side, girls on the others, teachers who hit and didn't get into trouble, teachers who were never married. They were always Miss, except for one, the art teacher. She was married and we all talked about her. We watched when her husband came after school to pick her up. Oh, there he is, look at that, she's getting in the car. She wears lipstick, wow. So that was elementary school. I went to Patrick Henry Junior High. The troubles kept on. I mean, I had first class Latin, and it was hard. The one person who helped me happened to be a black girl. She tutored me through 2 years of Latin before school started, because of course she couldn't come to my house. Not in the morning before school, not after school either, because after all, as my mom said, what would people say? What would people say? I think Elsie, That was her name. I think she went on to become a doctor. Elsie, I found out also.
Keep going.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, Elsie also, her family asked to go to my church, which was the Methodist Church, the Ashbury Methodist Church on 110th Street. They asked our minister, he said, well, you know, it sounds like an okay idea. But you know what? Within 2 weeks, our minister was gone, and Elsie's family never came to my church. That was 1948. By then, I was 14. I got my little, whatever you call it, Bible, that's right. And I left, and I never went back, because even though there was that picture of Jesus on the wall, and it said, suffer the little children and let them come on to me, and all the kids were there in different colors, but not in my church. Because Cleveland was a stew pot, not a melting pot. Thank you.
One more time, how about a huge round of applause for Carol? Folks, that is how we go through 10 stories right there. But what I'm hoping we will do, the folks that did not get chosen, you know whose name went in. What I like to do, and my wife reminded me that last time I neglected to do this, and I apologize to those who did not get called. Would you, the 6 that did not get called tonight, come up and tell the first line of your story while everyone else, I'm really hoping that you will. If Bill, don't bring up the lights until afterwards. So 6 people, I can read their names off, but I don't want to do that. Jennifer's here. Come on up, Jennifer. First line of your story, and then we will choose our person for the evening. Here you go.
I wanted to tell you about my 5th grade teacher.
We'll come back for that.
My dad was the first storyteller I ever heard.
We'll hear it.
How I got kicked out of catechism.
So I was going to tell you a really funny story, but then I went to see the butler just an hour ago, and I remembered something from my childhood. And I'm actually glad I didn't tell the story, because it should not be on camera.
Well, I was going to tell a story about a college food fight involving tomato aspic. It's already been done, so I
Oh, one more. There's James.
There were 6 of us. We stole the test. We all passed the calculus class.
Nicely done, by the way. Wow. Those would have been great stories as well, but you can tweak your story just a little to fit. It was a surprise when I didn't go to class or whatever it was. There you go. I was going to go back in there. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pick one of these green tickets. But first, if Bill, you could bring up the house lights and I bring all of our 10 storytellers up for the evening. One more huge round of applause for those folks, ladies and gentlemen. All right, and what I'm going to do right here is pull one of these green tickets. If you can have your green tickets ready, and what I would ask you guys to do is not sit there and think about it. Think about it right now. Which is your favorite story? When I pick your number, then immediately just say that one right there. Don't wait. Here it comes. Our storyteller, or our judge for the evening is 646-5678. 78.
Right here.
Lance, who do you got, Lance?
Dr. Haas.
Dr. Haas, very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Dr. Haas. Thank you guys. We will be back here October 2nd Facebook and the West Side Stories page. Thanks again, folks. Thanks for coming out. Good night.
Good job, Lance.